My entitled sister pushed my pregnant wife down the stairs as a prank. Parents took her side and threatened to disinherit me for pressing charges. So, we took legal action and cut them off. I, 32M, I've always kept a low profile, focusing on my career, my home, and above all, my pregnant wife. She and I had been over the moon these past few months, preparing a small bedroom, stocking up on baby clothes, and imagining the future. The pregnancy had brought us closer than ever, and we'd started hosting small family gatherings to share the joy. Last weekend, we invited my parents and younger sister over for a casual brunch at our place. The plan was simple: serve pancakes and fresh fruit, chat in the living room, and show them the latest ultrasound pictures. My sister arrived late, tossing her purse on the couch as if she owned the place, rolling her eyes at the decor. She'd always been spoiled, expecting everyone to bend over backward to please her. I tried to keep the mood light, ignoring her snarky comments about the size of our TV or how basic our furniture looked. My parents glanced at her behavior, but said nothing. They usually indulged her, brushing off her disrespect as her personality. We ended up on the staircase landing at one point. My wife was showing them the cute baby wallpaper samples we'd hung upstairs. My wife, in her third trimester, was careful, holding the railing as she walked. Suddenly, my sister smirked and said, "Hey, watch this." She gave a gentle push against my wife's shoulder, so casual, as if tapping her lightly, and then stepped back. My wife yelped, lost her balance on the top step, and tumbled down. The sound of her body hitting the stairs was sickening. I rushed down immediately, heart pounding, fearing the worst. She landed awkwardly at the bottom, groaning in pain. My parents and sister stood at the top of the stairs. My sister wore a look of mock surprise. "It was just a prank," she called down. "Don't be so dramatic." My parents hurried down after me. But instead of outrage at my sister, I saw panic in their eyes for a different reason. My wife clutched her belly, tears streaming. We called 911. The paramedics came swiftly, loading her onto a stretcher. I rode with her to the hospital, praying that our unborn child was okay. Hours later, a doctor informed me that the baby seemed stable, but my wife had bruises and needed to rest. I could barely contain my rage. My sister pushed my pregnant wife down the stairs and called it a prank. How could anyone think that was funny? When I confronted my parents by phone, they shocked me. "Your sister was just joking. You're overreacting," said my father. My mother chimed in, "Don't ruin this with lawsuits or drama." I told them I planned to press charges for assault. They gasped, furious. "You'd send your own sister to court?" they asked incredulously. "If you do that, don't expect any inheritance." I hung up the phone, stunned. My wife lay in a hospital bed, worried sick about our child, and my parents were threatening to disinherit me for seeking justice. My sister nearly cost us our baby's life, and they wanted me to let it go. It was unthinkable. I paced the hallway, fists clenched, as my wife's doctor walked by and gave a reassuring nod. The baby seemed safe, but my wife would need monitoring and rest. We were lucky this time. Determined, I called a lawyer who specialized in family disputes and personal injury cases. When I explained what happened, my sister's push, the injuries, the intimidation, he listened quietly, then said, "This is assault, possibly aggravated because your wife is pregnant. You have every right to press charges." He advised filing a police report immediately. I did so that afternoon, recounting every detail for the officer. They took it seriously, promising to follow up. That evening, I returned home to find voicemails from my parents. Their tone had shifted from denial to entitlement. "Think about the family legacy," my father said. "All those years of caring for you. Don't throw it away over a misunderstanding." My mother added, "Your sister didn't mean to hurt anyone. You're overreacting, and you know we've got influence in this town. Don't make us use it." Influence? They were hinting they could lean on personal connections to undermine my case. The sheer arrogance made me grind my teeth. They were so used to getting their way, they expected me to fold. My lawyer suggested we gather all possible evidence: texts, calls, medical records, any witnesses. We had a friend who had been visiting upstairs when it happened. Though he didn't see the actual push, he heard my sister's mocking voice and the subsequent crash, then saw her smirk from the top of the stairs. He was willing to testify to her attitude and how she dismissed the seriousness of the fall. As the police investigation advanced, my sister texted me directly. "It was a joke, you baby. I can't believe you're crying to the cops." Her cruelty fueled my resolve. If she truly thought this was no big deal, let her explain that to a judge. Then my parents stepped up their game. They contacted my wife's family, trying to convince them that we were blowing things out of proportion. They hinted that if we pursued legal action, we'd be cut off financially, disowned, and left with nothing. They'd always dangled inheritance like a carrot, assuming I cared enough about their money to sacrifice my principles. But I had a good job, a stable life, and I didn't need their wealth. I only needed justice and safety for my family. My wife, from her hospital bed, looked me in the eyes and said, "Do what you have to do. We protect our child ourselves no matter what." I held her hand, determined that this time, my family's entitlements would hit a brick wall. A few days later, I met with the investigating officer at the police station. They'd interviewed my sister, who showed no remorse. According to the officer, she claimed it was just playful sibling banter and accused me of overreacting. The officer didn't buy it. Pushing a pregnant woman down the stairs wasn't a prank. It was a potential felony assault. They would forward the case to the district attorney. My lawyer prepared me for the next steps, likely a court date, possibly a plea deal if my sister got smart and realized the gravity of her actions. My parents, however, doubled down on their threats. They showed up at my doorstep one afternoon, ignoring the fact that I'd told them to stay away. My wife was home from the hospital, resting on the couch. I stood in the doorway, blocking their path, and they demanded, "Drop the charges or we'll ensure you get nothing from our estate." I stared at them, enraged at their audacity. My wife and baby's safety comes first. If you think money will buy my silence, you're dead wrong. They scoffed, calling me ungrateful. I told them to leave, or I'd call the police. They left in a huff. Later that night, my sister tried another tactic. She posted on social media, painting herself as a victim of a crazy brother who couldn't take a joke. She twisted the narrative, saying my wife staged the fall to frame her. My blood boiled. Fortunately, my wife and I had nothing to hide. Our friend who witnessed her attitude posted a calm rebuttal, pointing out her lies and noting how we'd called an ambulance immediately. Other people who knew my sister's spoiled behavior chimed in, and before long, she deleted the post. Her attempt at public manipulation backfired. My lawyer encouraged me to remain calm and let the legal system do its job. He said prosecutors wouldn't be swayed by social media drama. We had medical records of my wife's injuries, witness accounts, and my sister's own words. My parents tried to pull strings behind the scenes, calling old family friends in the legal field, hoping to get the case dropped. But in the U.S., assaulting a pregnant woman is taken seriously. The DA pressed charges without hesitation, indicating they'd pursue a conviction. A court date was set. My sister panicked, leaving frantic messages. "We're family. You can't send me to jail." My parents offered money to cover medical expenses if we dropped the charges, but their bribes fell on deaf ears. Enough was enough. I realized now that cutting them off was the only way forward. They believed themselves untouchable, wielding inheritance like a weapon. I wouldn't bend. I wanted them to face the law's judgment. My wife supported me, no matter the cost. We agreed. Even if it meant losing any financial ties, we pursued justice. Our child's safety and our principles mattered more than blood ties and dirty money. On the day of the hearing, I stood beside my lawyer in a small, wood-paneled courtroom. My sister sat at the defense table, flanked by a lawyer who looked exhausted already. My parents hovered in the gallery, glaring at me. My wife, though still recovering, insisted on attending. She wore a determined expression. The prosecutor laid out the facts. A deliberate push from the top of the stairs, resulting in bodily harm and potential harm to an unborn child. The judge's eyebrows rose as he listened. My sister's defense tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, claiming she never intended harm. But the prosecutor showed text messages, my sister's taunting messages afterward, and social media posts implying we were crybabies. The jury didn't need a grand speech to see the truth. This wasn't an accident or a lighthearted joke. It was reckless endangerment at best, malicious at worst. During a brief recess, my parents attempted one last desperate move. They approached my lawyer in the hallway, offering a substantial settlement if we just dropped everything. My lawyer shook his head. I wouldn't relent. They didn't seem to understand that their intimidation and bribes only strengthened my resolve. After all these threats and manipulations, letting them get off scot-free would mean betraying my wife and child. Back in the courtroom, the jury returned a verdict of guilty. My sister was convicted of felony assault. The judge set sentencing for a later date, but prison time was on the table. My parents looked pale, shocked that their influence couldn't save her. As we left, my sister sobbed, "This is your fault." I didn't even respond. She'd done this to herself. In the following weeks, my parents tried to contact me, offering apologies and claiming they didn't realize how serious the situation was. I never answered their calls. I blocked their numbers, cut off all contact. If they thought I'd forgive and forget after they tried to strong-arm me into dropping charges, they were mistaken. For the first time in my life, I understood that sometimes blood ties can be poison roots strangling your growth. Removing them was the healthiest choice. My wife and I moved forward, focusing on her recovery and the baby's arrival. We installed better security measures at home and made it clear to mutual acquaintances that we wanted no further contact with my parents or sister. Without their inheritance, we'd still thrive on our own terms. We had each other and our future child. That was worth more than any tainted legacy. When I look back now, I see a cruel irony. My parents valued wealth and family reputation over human decency. My sister thought she could hurt someone as a joke and get away with it. They all faced consequences for their entitlement. And we emerged stronger, knowing we stood up for what was right. If exposing entitled antics gives you a thrill, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, there's always another storm to watch blow up.